my best to recreate Canaanite culture in America.
Okay, I'm recording.
I had that book.
See, that's right.
The Canaanite trilogy. Last night, as I sat watching on TV a historical drama based on World War I called MASH, I felt and then saw a little tiny ant crawl across my arm onto the table and into my pepper grinder. Tonight I checked and the ant is still there. I closed my eyes and thanked the Lord that I hadn't put the pepper on my evening's meal, chipped beef on toast, a typical World War I repast, as I try my best to recreate Canaanite culture in America. Along the Pacific coast of the USA, deep in the mystic regions of the Northwest Passage, on the steps of Temple 13, I hear faintly in the distance a rhythmic pounding, the sensation. I feel the vibrations energizing my feet and legs and begin to dance, swaying backwards and forward as I prepare to step into the unknown and spy a large attack poodle cradled by two young women, neither of whom are my two wives or two girlfriends or two neighbors, but two unknown tourists visiting from Hawaii, searching for an Indian casino, or better yet, Las Vegas. One lady told me her husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or wife had left her suddenly for another. Of course, I was concerned when she told me that he or she or them had met some other person or new loved one on the internet. No, not again, I cried. In World War I, many couples and pets spent up to and including, by the way, longer than a year separated from their loved ones, and only slowly recovered their upholstery in plastic, fabric, or leather, and turned to the next available person or pet, such as I did, when undulating, rolling, jumping, dancing, I saw the look of burning passion in my gardener's eye, but grew to doubt his love when he left his earmuffs and blower on as we sweatily embraced. The Canaanite trilogy.
Yay.
And then, if you don't mind, I could read one other poem, and this is more written in the style of the poet of the Old South. I used to be an aluminum chair. Alien manatees came up out of the canals, riding huge bugs, weevils, that escaped from NASA laboratories during yesterday's storm. With the wind howling while entire tri-level mini mansions flew overhead destined for far distant locales. New Jersey. Her parents screamed into the cell phone that bugs were eating the palm trees in the front yard. Mom, that's fine. Why don't you let the cat out? He loves bugs. I've got to go now. I have a hair appointment at 3. In a matter of seconds, the Greyhound bus-sized bugs broke through the front door of the house. Meanwhile, back at the diner, I approached the man who, holding his head in apparent distress, sat at the counter and asked for coffee. When I brought him the coffee, he then asked for cream and honey. Well, la-di-da. Up close on him, I saw this knife handle protruding from his left ear, with dried blood running down his neck. Hon, is everything all right? The cafe darkened, while winds whipped the blinds and the lights flickered. Hurricane weather like this gets on my nerves is all. I guess it's better than those fires last summer. Ain't that the truth, hon? What will it be? He sort of moaned as he gripped his head and looked up at me appraisingly. I'll take this here fried chicken, the stewed tomatoes and okra, and collard greens. Coming right up. When I brought his order, I saw he had pulled a knife out and was whispering to a small dog. Sir, we can't have dogs in the diner. It's against state and county rules. I'm going to have to get the manager. He said, don't do that. This is my service rat, and I have a note to that effect right here, ma'am. Sure enough, he had a note from Keister Clinic, signed by Dr. Al Blaster Ackerman to that effect. Service rat. I never heard that one before. He's called Lester, ma'am. Don't pet him. He takes a while to warm to new people. Unless, of course, you spill food on yourself. Now he asked me if I had a high chair. Hon, I can get you a booster seat. Much appreciated. Lester don't like to eat off the floor. He thinks he's human, you see, and if I don't strap him in, he's liable to walk up and down the counter sampling other people's food. By the way, ma'am, I sure do appreciate how clean and lint-free your apron is. Why, thank you, hon. We try to look our best. I just never been able to get my dark clothes, especially the blacks, to come out except all covered in lint. Hon, you've got to wash them by themselves and never put towels or socks, anything like that, in the same load. Just then the cook shouted, oh shit, I heard the dishwasher say, what is it, a rat? Yeah, and he just jumped into my new ragu sauce. Does your rat Lester ever do anything like that? What's your name anyway, hon? My name is Fester T. Moore. It rhymes with my little furry friend here, who is called Lester S. Moore. Yep. Fester and Lester Moore at your service, ma'am. Some years ago, Lester and I were at a reception for the architect Miles Vanderoe. I introduced him to Lester, my rat. You can call him Les. I heard Miles say, Lester, Les S. Moore. Lester and I believe this is the basis of his most famous quotation, less is more. So that's the story of Fester and Lester Moore. So you want to walk around and look at the exhibition, eh?
Sure.
So right up there, that's like my first painting, literally. And Antonio Gasparini, who's the curator at Angelus Novus in L'Aquila, Italy, sent me a letter in Italian requesting a large painting for an exhibition in Kemi, Finland. And that's the one I did for the that exhibition. And so, I don't know, it's kind of says what? Ooh, La Fábrica de Signos, which I think means the factory of signs, or the workshop of signs. And then it has the name of a book that Laura Agarossi, an Ennis book, wrote That's the name of, I think, who? We? That was the name of some LPs that a guy named Henri Chopin, sound poetry, used to put together. And I think he might be dead now. I can't remember if Laura's dead or not. La Fabrica de Signos, or however you pronounce it, is a guy, Prior, the Spanishanist. I think it's the name of one of their groups. So it's related to the INI group and Internationale Innovatrice Infinitesimale, and exhibition they had in Finland, which was I think it might have been 1994, but that's my first painting, and it's acrylic on canvas. And then in this other room, I think there's some other pieces.
Okay.
This one, that one is kind of like a couple, and it's oil and what do they call it? Oil pastel. And I kind of think, it's probably, represents me and whoever I was living with. Maybe not. And then that's a woman that I knew, that's Pietro Ferru's wife, named Diana, and it's another oil pastel. And then these up here, those are some tile paintings. And I made maybe 10 of those. And for some reason, I did one that vaguely, some different people, like David told me, that reminded him of Emily. But of course, I usually don't try to draw people from, I just, make it up. And these are some, what I would think of as visual poetry, kind of INI style. And I did them for pages for a book. And this first one, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's on the painting in the other room. The title, it was like a journal about Innis philosophy, Innis poetry, Innis film, by this woman, Laura Algarossi, who was one of the people that signed the initial Innis non-manifesto with, of course, Gabriele Bertozzi and Isidore Izu and John Paul Coutet. I'm probably getting all the French wrong. And then this lower one is someone named Bob at the time, but he's also, now we know him as Robert. And then there's the picture of the famous boat that goes two ways at once, which is like a ferry boat. And then there's a picture of the mystic hand. And then I think right here is, I did several of these ceramic masks, with that form. And that's, I don't have any particular person in mind for that. And then this is a drawing that I thought at the time looked like Hickory, Nicholas Hill, who moved to New York, but used to live here back in the day. So that's a guy named Hickory. And this is kind of a favorite. This is one of my favorite ceramic masks, and it's rigged up so you can wear it. And this is another ceramic mask that came out particularly well, I thought. It's a long one. And then here's another one of these, what I think of as visual poetry pieces, and it's based on the name Argentina. And Argentina was my host when I went to Pescara in Italy twice for INIST symposiums. I didn't make it, but there's a beautiful, beautiful exit sign right there. And it looks like it has emergency lights. It looks like it got a weird thing up there. I don't know what that's for. Maybe to turn the lights on if the something happens. Here's the rare book room. In this bookstore, Mother Foucault's. And some of these books were books I had in a collection. A collection, like I bet this one, Emmett Williams' Sweethearts, Emmett Williams, A Valentine for Noel. I recognize those. And there used to be a bunch of, you know, like Gerald Burns, Byrne Porter, Something Else Press, Gertrude Stein. So multiple copies of these Something Else Press books. I used to have fun going and looking for them and collecting them. I think there's like an anthology of concrete poetry. Jackson Maclow. I think Film at Wit's End. Klaus Oldenburg, Store Days. You know, I think I sold Craig maybe 100 Something Else Press items. I recognize these tile on the floor as being tile from the tile factory that I worked at.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's kind of a nice detail to their rare books room. Wow, look at, there's a room back here too. Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
So, you know, this whole thing about Foucault being put in the prison, that you carry the prison around in your head, and the other people in society are your prison guards, and you're following a certain standard. And it's, I think that's supposed to be like new. The old phenomenon was they'd throw you in the dungeon or they'd hook your arms and legs up to 4 different horses and pull you apart for kind of like a Super Bowl moment.
It is spectacular, the drawing and quartering.
So do you think that my interpretation
I think
of the Foucault theory about the prisons is...
that sounds pretty succinct.
Great. And then what about Society of the Spectacle by Guy Debord?
I haven't read that one yet.
But it's a misnomer because spectacle is a word in French which is more common, but in English a spectacle is like, you know, a big deal. You know, like
Spectacular.
spectacular. But I think spectacle just would refer to people becoming more passive participants as an audience,
Yes.
watching TV. They don't go to the game, they don't play in the game, they watch the game on TV. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
So,
Watching the game rather than playing the game.
right, it's a big percentage of society is transformed into voyeurs, watchers, non-participants per se in the active part of the event. That's my theory about that.
I find that.
And since you didn't read the book,
Right.
I didn't read the book either. I just took
It
that.
sounds like you don't need to. It sounds
I
like
just
you got
took
a
it.
pretty good handle on it.
I just took it from the title. Because I thought that spectacle thing, I noticed when I went to France, everything's a spectacle. So I thought, hey, this is different than English. Wow, this is a beautiful back room.
We'll let you come back here. Ordinarily, this is not for public consumption.
Oh, thank you.
You have special permission to be in the fabulous back room.
See this book here? Expanded Cinema by Gene Youngblood. Introduction by Buckminster Fuller. And look, it says, P.T. Lambert's first definitive pop bottle removal system. Act is, I don't know what that says, my own hand, on February 14th, 1971. So this was a book I guess I read back in the early 70s. And I think an article by this Gene Youngblood in Arts Canada, article by Norman O'Brown, I think it was in Harper's, and a book by Paul Goodman, one particular chapter. I read these at the library one day, downtown, the county library, and then I wanted to copy them, and I walked up to the Portland State Library and did copy them. And at the Portland State Library, I had a visionary experience. Like, I think Abraham Maslow called it a peak experience. But anyway, I had this experience where in a short few seconds, several questions that I had about life and my own personal philosophy, they resolved themselves. Standing at the copier on the second floor of the library at Portland State. So that was my, like I came to the belief that everything was art, even art. And I, you know, like that the right and wrong was relative. Something that could be right for somebody could be wrong for somebody else. And then I had the idea that just any, like take for instance this hallway, these books, the bookshelf, the door, the French windows, through to the main section and the window to the street and the cars going by. As an artwork, that's fabulous. You know, and this stacked up cup, you know, falling off the counter, unrehearsed, unbidden. I kind of get a kick out of that. So I'm thinking this book that says Esmeralda, that's probably, there was a lady named, I think there was a poet named Doug. Anyway, he had a daughter named Esmeralda. Anyway, I get a, it's a wonderful bookstore. This is really funny. So here's these books in the back room that they don't allow anybody, you know, except for yourself or me, to come back here because I think, you know, what is it? This is my little thing. You know how they have this Homeland Security now?
Yeah.
They have like too much of that stuff now, I think. And when I was young, I think I was maybe in the 7th grade, I was living in a suburb of Dallas, Texas, and Kennedy was assassinated. And I was at school and they let us go home early. And then the following, I think it was the following weekend, we went to the funeral mass at the downtown Catholic Cathedral in Dallas as a family. And I can't remember if my dad was wearing his uniform, but he was in the Army. And when we came out of the funeral mass, we heard some police cars go by with the sirens going. And my dad followed one of the police cars. And it went down to the Dallas police headquarters. And so he parked in the next block, parking on the street right in the middle of downtown. And off the sidewalk was a Dallas police garage where Jack Ruby had just shot Lee Harvey Oswald. But here we are, we followed the police car. And then we got out of the car, my dad leads the way, we walked down to this police garage, and I think it was us kids. Anyway, it was at least maybe my little sister. And I don't know if my mom came along, but we walked in the police garage, and my dad walked up to one of the policemen and asked him what happened. And he told him, and then he took my dad over by the elevator and showed him where the blood was from the shooting. And then, you know, after that, I can't remember if we went to eat or we went home. But a certain amount of time after church, we'd go eat. And God, I mean, nowadays they wouldn't let you within a mile of the place. You know, they'd have all the roads blocked off, and you know, everybody. I just think that was a big event, you know.
Yeah.
The president's assassination, the one who shot him being killed, and we're just off the sidewalk and are able to walk right in and around. And there were some policemen there, but they seemed like they were talking to reporters, newspaper reporters probably, radio reporters. So that's a little different than nowadays as far as this security stuff goes. So, what do you think?
Is that the tour?
Huh?
Is that the tour?
Well, yeah. Wait, we should see what that one ink drawing is supposed to represent, okay?
All right, lead the way.
Well,
Oh,
so this top ink drawing, this front, is supposed to, that's supposed to represent this over here. I don't think I pronounce it right, but I seem to have written it down on this painting. See where it says Secondo Quaderno. That's what, it was a book that this lady, Laura Agarosi, wrote, I guess, in 1984. Maybe she wrote it in 1994. But it was a journal. I think it means second journal, or second manuscript in Italian. So that's what that pen and ink drawing.
So
That's what the title should
consolidated.
be.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you. Now, you want to say anything about how bad I've been? That I'm a fool? Don't film him.
Okay.
So I guess it's arrivederci. So long.
All right.